the Small Business Administration, and I am in one of the nicest spaces in Wilmington, the Mill, here with Rebecca Parsons, the Director of Operations. She and Rob Herrera have been so nice to invite us into the Mill to talk to you guys about the SBA. One of the things that I say, and my colleagues say, if you didn't know who the SBA was before March 14, 2020, you probably know who we are now. Doesn't mean navigating the programs are as easy as we all want it to be, but you certainly know a little bit about the SBA. So, Rob and Rebecca have invited us in today to talk about the SBA for you guys, to make it accessible, to explain a little bit about the programs that are available to you, and to introduce you not only to me as a resource, but to also let you know that I am just one of a team of 7 that blanket the state of Delaware helping small businesses. So, if you need a connection for someone to help you navigate the complexity of our programs, the bureaucracy sometimes with all the documentation you have to provide, maybe more than once, maybe twice, because things don't get uploaded correctly or they get lost or they've gone to the wrong desk, myself and my fellow teammates are here to help you. Let's start with the economic aid programs right now that was signed into law on December 27th of 2020. It's the latest round of a myriad of programs that the SBA is providing to help small businesses, the most hardest impacted small businesses, get the funding that they need to keep their doors open to sustain during this pandemic. So, what came out of the economic aid program? 4 very specific programs. Enhancements to the original Paycheck Protection Program, which was last year. Enhancements such as a round of funding for those businesses that did not receive a PPP last year. A second round of funding for the businesses that did receive funding for Paycheck Protection last year, but now they want to go for another round. We have an enhancement to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, meaning the loan itself has been extended to the end of the year of 2021. So if you did not apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan last year, you can still apply. There's plenty of time. I'll get into a little bit about the differences of these programs so you know how to identify and choose which would make the most sense for you and your business. We have the SBA Debt Relief Program for existing SBA borrowers that received SBA funding during a certain period of time, where the SBA is covering those loan payments for you. And we have a new grant program called the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant. That's very specific to live venue operators, some performance companies, as well as agents that represent and make the majority of their revenue from representing performers and artists that perform at a live venue. The differences: how do you decide which program to go for? Can you do all of the programs? Should you do all of the programs? These are questions that every small business is probably overwhelmed with because there's so many programs in order to help you survive. So the Paycheck Protection Program, easy. It was designed and intended to help small businesses keep their employees. So we're protecting the payroll. We want you to continue paying for your employees to continue to work, and the majority of the funds, if you were to receive a PPP loan, is to cover payroll expenses, at least 60%. So there are other uses for the funds as well, but the intention is for you to cover payroll. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, while it can cover payroll, is mostly to help you cover operational expenses. That's sort of the difference. There is some overlap. And the Debt Relief Program, of course, as I said, is to help you cover existing loans payments. And one of the other big things about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan that came out of the Economic AIDS Act is there was a piece last year to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance, which is the grant portion. And it was supposed to be for businesses to receive up to $10,000. Well, to administer that program last year, the SBA came up with a formula where each business received $1,000 per employee. Well, under this new funding act, the SBA is now able to go back to those businesses that received less than $10,000 and can enhance what they did receive up to $10,000. So if you received $1,000, you may be eligible for an additional $9,000 in grant money called the advance. There is some criteria. Specifically, you need to have less than 300 employees. Your business needs to be located in a low-income community, and you need to demonstrate 25% revenue loss. So there's a lot of details to these programs, and I could go on and on and on, but mostly what I want to share again is you can always reach out to myself. If I don't have the answer to your question, I can put you in touch with someone that does. SBA has done a tremendous job this time around providing quality information, very specific information, detailed information, FAQs to answer most of the questions that we've received over the past 10 months. And it's a tremendous value to go there and just start researching the programs available to you. Now, what if you just wanted to get to know the SBA in general? We know, we've been saying for many, many years, small businesses power the economy. Well, the SBA powers small businesses. That's why we create these programs. It's why my job is to help administer them to our local markets. So our job number one is to get funding into the hands of small businesses. So in normal times and even overlapping these pandemic times, we have loan programs to help our small businesses that require funding to grow, to open, to develop. And then there's government contracting. So, the federal government is the largest buyer of goods and services, and each local office, takes it upon themselves to help introduce this market to small businesses, teach you how to market to small business, how to position yourself, along with other programs. Now, at the end of the day, developing your business, developing your business is a part of your job, right? Our job is to help make that easier for you. I've talked about several of our funding programs, but we've also recognized that many small businesses aren't in a position to just sort of click a button and start going for funding. So another way, and probably one of the most important ways that we really help small businesses, is by providing them counseling and mentoring assistance through our partnerships with local organizations that we help fund. Specifically, our Small Business Development Center, our Women's Business Center, and our SCORE chapters. There's so much more. If it wasn't clear, one of the things about all of our programs that you will find either from listening to me, listening to my colleagues, doing some research online, there will be eligibility requirements, there will be criteria for using the funds, and when you apply, you have to apply and demonstrate how you meet the eligibility. So say, for instance, one of the key criteria is that you demonstrate, specifically for the Shuttered Venue Operators grant, you want to go in the first round and you have to demonstrate 90% revenue loss. How do you do that? Typically, combination of things, tax returns. We'll ask for the previous 3 years of tax returns where we can see the progression, right? And we can look back over the years. What was your revenue in March of 2020? Or let's say, what was your revenue in April of 2020? What was your revenue in April of 2019? What was your revenue previous? Specifically to the Shuttered Venue Operators grant, they have not come out with all of the guidance as to what they're going to be requesting. So I'm not quite sure. Some of our other programs are indicating that you do a side-by-side comparison of quarter to quarter, or 2 months, right? Look at 2 months in 2020 of your lowest revenue and compare it to the same 2 months of 2019. How do you demonstrate that? Once you look at that, with your tax returns. If your tax returns were not submitted yet, you can generate some internal reports if you use QuickBooks or an online accounting system. Whether or not we need those audited or certified by an accountant yet hasn't been determined, but yeah, that's a typical approach. They keep telling us it's coming. I can say every week there's new information. So if you go to SBA.gov, coronavirus relief programs, all of them are listed. So the Paycheck Protection Program, the EIDL program, the Shuttered Venues program will be there. If you click on Shuttered Venues, you'll see a list of things, details, and FAQs. We hear so much information about these programs, like what is truly the success? Yesterday was a federal holiday, so nothing was published yesterday. As of the end of January, I love this, for the new round of PPP funding, over 400,000 PP loans have been approved. The average loan size is $87,000. Over 65% have been for $50,000 or less in funding. So what does that mean and why is that important to know? When we look at the size of the loans, we can pretty much determine what size of business received the loans. So we'll be talking about, what are the numbers in regards to 150,000 or less, 50,000 or less. So having over 65% be approved for 50,000 or less is pretty good. Our forgiveness totals are really amazing, and the numbers being what they are means how much assistance we've actually gotten into the economy to help small businesses. So 1.1 million loans have been forgiven. 1.1 million loans, totaling over $100 billion. These numbers are astounding, right? So 88% of those loans have been approved for $50,000 or less. So 80% of the loans that have been forgiven have been for our smallest businesses. It means, that we've really kept people employed. There are some basic questions that we ask. I call them intake questions. Someone's going to say, hey, I don't know much about the SBA, or I heard about these SBA programs. How can you help me, my small business? First question I'm going to say is, tell me about your business. How long have you been in business? What are your core products and services? What's your pricing strategy? What has been your success, right? Or are you operating at a profit? Are you breaking even? Are you operating at a loss? Your answers to those questions, knowing those questions, the answers to those questions are really important and demonstrate your seriousness and your credibility to somebody like me or any of our resource partners that are here to help you. One of the mistakes so many small businesses make when they are looking for funding is they'll walk in and they'll say, I'm looking for funding. I'd like to do X, Y, and Z. A follow-up question to that will be, well, how much are you looking for? And the response typically is, how much will you give me? So while that's fun, at the end of the day, it doesn't represent a serious or thoughtful response, right? And when we're talking funding and financing, it's serious and thoughtful business. It requires a lot of the business to gain that money, to utilize it correctly, and then have the capacity and the ability to pay back that loan and demonstrate, financial character and capability. So, if you are looking to fund a business, thought, equipment, having working capital, you really want to be thoughtful and think about how much your business needs. And that's going to be based on your financials to begin with, right? So, what does this mean indirectly? That you should understand your financials, be able to pull reports, balance sheets, profit and loss, really look at your profit, your losses, your margins, all of that. Like I said, one of our key benefits or programs is to work with a business counselor and mentor. So while I say this, you need to know this, you need to know this about your business. Why we have a resource partner program is because we know most small businesses don't know all this information. They are in the business of working in their business. being an accountant, a CPA is not necessarily what they do. So we have these mentors and counselors that can help you figure out how, what your next steps are for evaluating your financials, making sure that things are being put together correctly for a loan. It can help you think through all of these questions before actually going to a banker. Our resource partners, the Women's Business Center, the Small Business Development Center, and SCORE, offer mentoring and counseling for free. They also offer training classes. Sometimes there may be a nominal fee to that. That's specifically because there are resources that have to go in with doing a training, whether that's materials, whether that's online virtual platforms these days. But to be current, I don't think anyone's really charging for classes or trainings these days. So first, let me share my email. My name is Ellyn. My email is going to be my name at the SBA.gov. So my name is Ellyn, ELLYN, Herbert, HERBERT, at SBA.gov. And you can just shoot me an email, tell me that you saw me, you viewed this show today. Let me know what you're looking for help with. And like I said, I'll either help you if I can, or I will put you in touch with the right person that can. The second is www.sba.gov/updates. Now what that's going to do, it's going to take you to a sign-up sheet. So if you sign in there, you will get all the latest information from the Delaware District Office on any changes to our programs, any new programs coming out. You'll get put on our mailing list. www.sba.gov is just the general SBA website to go to, not only for our current economic aid programs and updates, FAQs, but for our funding programs, our general traditional funding programs like our 7A lending or our 504. Information on government contracting. We have a training database there about starting a business, about growing a business. It's a wealth of information. Bye everybody, thanks for tuning in.